So today I'm going to be reviewing the perfume oil dupes made by a company called Perfume Parlour. The company, I'm not sure how they work, they don't tell you on their website, but essentially it seems from other reviews they reverse engineer the perfumes and then try and recreate them. The oils that I've ordered so far from the website are all fragrances that either I have owned, I currently own, or I'm very familiar with. So I can give a rating as to their accuracy. Just a quick disclaimer, I am not a perfume expert in any way. I don't really know much about notes. I can't distinguish them. So I'm just going to talk about them very frankly as a lover of perfumes with no other knowledge. J'adore by Christian Dior. Now let's have a smell. The Perfume Parlour version. It smells like J'adore. Undoubtedly. How close is it? I would say this has a smell that's a little bit more soapy in the beginning for the first maybe half hour or so while it settles into the skin. After which time it just smells like J'adore. So if you like J'adore, the Perfume Parlour version is very, very close. So I think I'm going to rate these out of 5 with regards to closeness to the original scent. And I would give J'adore in terms of how it smells, I'm going to give it a 5. It smells like J'adore. Moving on. The next is the ever popular, men go crazy for it, C by Giorgio Armani. And it smells like C. This isn't going to be a very good review. I personally find the roll sweeter smelling than, especially for the first hour or two, than the Giorgio Armani version. It's very close, but not as close as the J'adore. So I think for the Giorgio Armani, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 for closeness. Miss Dior, and this is the original formulation, the classic formulation, if you will, aka my mum's favourite. It's Dior. Miss Dior, 5. You get a 5. It's identical. I think this might be the most identical of all of them. Oh my god, is it? Yes, it is. That's it. Maybe it's slightly more, has a more acidic smell to it. I can't attest as to how this lasts on the skin. I haven't tried it because, again, it's not a perfume I would want to be wearing all day. It's my mama's. The next one I'll be reviewing is Givenchy III. It's one of the few where I haven't actually smelt the original. It's come on recommendation. Another of my mum's favourite perfumes is Y by Yves Saint Laurent. I was told Givenchy III is a very close dupe of it. So really I'm going to be reviewing this compared to a perfume that it's not trying to be, so it doesn't make much sense, but I'll tell you how it smells to me anyway. It smells similar to Y. It's sweeter and soapier than Y. I found at first with my first batch of oils that I purchased from Perfume Parlour is they all had a very strong soapiness to them. However, this seemed to die down with time. So the smell that you get right out of the bottle is not the smell that you get on your skin, especially after the first half an hour to an hour when things really start to develop. It does smell to me like Y. Does it smell like Givenchy III? I don't know. I'm going to give it a 4. Gucci Flora. This one was a really recent purchase for me. The sales assistant told me I might like Gucci Flora Gardenia. Is that what it's called? I already have a Gardenia fragrance from the Body Shop, which I very much like. Oh yeah, I really like it. Especially on the skin. I really like this one. Does it smell like Gucci Flora? Absolutely. What do I rate this? 5. My old favourite. Oh, how I loved this perfume. I still love it. Samsara ran out for me earlier in the year, and I didn't repurchase because of Mr. Leroux's disdain for the scent on me. And Samsara is one heck of a perfume. It's the most complimented perfume I've ever worn. Almost daily people would mention it to me. But goddamn, the more you smell perfume, the less you smell it. So it's like you're like a heroin addict. You know, you've got to have a little bit more to get the same kind of reaction. So I'm going to sniff this Samsara, which I haven't yet tried on my skin. Oh, Samsara. I love Samsara. Do you know what? I'm just going to try it on my skin. Instantly. Oh, now that I've agitated it, it smells like Samsara, but with something quite acidic-y in the background. Something a bit stanky. Oh, no. There's something in it. Is maybe too cheap or just off, because out of the lid and off the top of the bottle from the first smell, it really smelled like Samsara. I was like, wow, Samsara. But on my skin, oh, it stinks. There's something very rancid smelling in this oil. I'm supposed to be rating this out of closeness to the fragrance, but I'm going to also mix in how much do I like it. This is getting a 3 because it does smell like Samsara, but oh my god, it stinks. It really stinks. Okay, Dior Poison Girl. Now this is a fragrance that everybody is going nutty about. It smells like a sweeter version of Poison Girl. So for closeness, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Not bad. Modern Muse by Estee Lauder. If you put this on a wrist and said to me, what do you think it is? I never would have said Modern Muse. This to me gets a 2 because it just doesn't smell like it. Modern Muse is quite nice. And this is one of the 2 perfumes that I've bought that I do not own or have never owned. However, I am very familiar with it because I've smelt it a lot of times. And this is the one that says just Prada on the bottle normally, but it's Prada Amber. So Prada Amber. Oh, smells like amber. It's so strong, I don't want to smell it again. Does it smell like Prada Amber? Well, I've put it on my arm, and it is by far the most overpowering of all the perfumes that I've purchased from Perfume Parlour. The amber is overwhelming, whereas the Prada Amber, after several hours, does not smell that way. You know, I'm giving it 2. It just stinks. Maybe it's the cheap oils or whatever they've used. No. Stinky. Elle by Yves Saint Laurent. I'm going to give it a little sniff. I think I've gone nose blind. On the skin, it does smell somewhat like Elle, not massively. I'd give it like a 70 to 80% closeness. I'm going to give it a 4 because it does smell like it, just not massively. Next, one of my faves, it's Gucci Bamboo. The Perfume Parlour version is so delicious. Does it smell super close to bamboo? Yes, it does. It could be the same thing. I wouldn't know if it wasn't. This is 100% a 5. Gucci Bamboo, Perfume Parlour. Buy it, buy it, buy it. Prada's Candi. Very, very similar. Again, it's one that I wouldn't know isn't Prada Candi. Wears well on the arm. I would say this is initially sweeter smelling than Prada Candi. However, with time on the arm, it then smells more like Prada Candi. But then after a few hours, it doesn't last. It doesn't last like Prada Candi does, which just stays on the skin and gets better and better and better. Manifesto by Yves Saint Laurent. Really nice. The Perfume Parlour version is quite close. Not 100%, but it's close enough that I'm also going to give it a 5. Dolce & Gabbana The One. Now, this is another perfume that is very, very popular. I think it's popular because it's easy, it's not overpowering. Men and women like it. Dolce & Gabbana, the one Perfume Parlour version, 5. Gucci Guilty. Now this one I got after a recommendation. I went to a perfume shop and I said, look, I need Samsara in my life, but my boyfriend hates it. So she went through a bunch of perfumes that had tonka bean in them because she thought that was one of the strongest notes in Samsara. So Gucci Guilty was one of these perfumes at the time I wasn't that into. It didn't sing to me at first, but then I started to love it and I'm glad I have it. And the Perfume Parlour version gets a 5. Really, really nice. Lasts long on the skin. Smells good. By the way, when I say that these perfume oils last long on the skin, they don't last as long as a good quality eau de parfum, which will last you the whole friggin' day. We're talking 12 hours or more. These will last you half a day. I haven't found one that lasts any longer than that, except for Prada Amber. Disgusting. Get off my skin. Which lasts for ages and ages and ages until you wash, probably. Yes, but the rest of them do not last a full day, so they are small enough that I would take these little things into my handbag after I've used them in the morning, so that if I'm not going to be going home for a very long time, I can top up later in the day, which I have done. The next one is the ever popular Flowerbomb by Viktor and Rolf. Now, this perfume is like, I don't know, it's the one that everybody owns it. Everybody has owned it or does own it or has smelt it. It is the most popular fragrance at the moment from a designer. Had I heard of Viktor and Rolf before this perfume? No. Do I care who they are? No. This perfume, to me, I have bought it for a family member because personally I find it too generic smelling. I'm not that into the fragrance. However, this is a 5, guys. It's called Dolce Veeta and smells quite classy in my opinion. I like it. It's non-offensive, I find. They don't sell it anywhere, or if they do, they're hiding it under the counter. When I went to the Dior counter recently to buy some perfumes, she like yanked a dusty old drawer open and pulled out this vial that like shone like a beacon. Anyway, Dolce Veeta. There are similarities between this and the original perfume. It does smell similar, so I would probably give it a 4, but because I actually think this stinks, especially with time, it's getting a 3. It's one of my least favourite of the bunch. Coco Noir, which by Chanel, very rich fragrance, very delicious smelling. Again, I would put it in the same category as Samsara, and what else smells rich like that? Manifesto, Coco Noir. It's nice. I don't think it's all that close though, straight out of the bottle. But I know that when you put this on your skin, after a while, it becomes more similar to Coco Noir. So that's going to get a 4 for me. The last of the female fragrances is one that I don't own but has come recommended to me. I have never smelt this. This is the only fragrance I have never smelt. Never, never, never. And it is Viktor and Rolf Flowerbomb Rose Explosion. Now, this smells straight up like Turkish Delight. If this is how the actual Flowerbomb Rose Explosion smells, you've done a bad job, Viktor and Rolf. I don't think people really want to walk around smelling like candies. However, I expect that this is not the case, and that this particular perfume oil is just, they've put rose notes in the top, middle and bottom, so much so that it was the first thing that my partner said was that it smells like Turkish Delight, and that would be the rose oil. I'm going to give this I can't give it a similarity rating, so I'm just going to have to leave this one out. In terms of fragrance, if I could rate it out of 5, out of, 1 is stanky disgustingness, and 5 is gorgeous. This is going to get a 2 or a 3. I'm not that into it. Narcissa Rodriguez for her, which I've given to a friend because she likes the fragrance as well. In fact, it's her perfume. She was the one that introduced me to it. Now, the Narcissa Rodriguez for her Eau de Toilette is exceptionally different from the For Her Eau de Parfum, so much so that they smell like 2 different fragrances. However, the perfume oil by Perfume Parlour smells to me very much like the Eau de Parfum. So that's Narcissa Rodriguez For Her Eau de Parfum from Perfume Parlour. For me, it gets a 5. Okay, so that was the review of all the Perfume Parlour female fragrances that I've tried, all the perfume oils. I originally thought when I ordered these, because of all the glowing reviews that you see online, that they were so close, or they were going to be so close that I could then use them daily. If first I wanted to try the oils to see how they were, because it's the same fragrance they use in both their oils and their Eau de Parfum. And if the oil was close enough, I was then going to buy the spray and then use that all the time, and then maybe just save my designer one for, you know, evenings or going out, or maybe just give it away as a gift. Or I think there are a few oils that I can do this with. If it was close enough to the perfumes that I've got, then I could start layering. I could use the perfume oils as a base and then put the actual perfume that it's based on top. I think perfumes are getting worse with time. Guerlain, whatever, they last forever, and you could tell it was well made, you could tell it was good. But the thing about designer fragrances is that they're expensive not because they're delicious, but because they're designer. You're paying for the label, you're paying for the name, the bottle, the advertising, everything like that. Whereas the fragrances themselves, a lot of the time, are now made with inferior ingredients. So a lot of synthetic oils are used. I'm quite happy to spend a lot of money on perfume because it's one of the things that I really, really love. But when it comes to perfume, I'm happy to splash the cash. However, if there's a cheaper alternative, then I think I'm okay with it. I know it's a copy. Some people are going to look down on dupes. I generally did as well because they didn't last very long in my opinion, and they were just, although they may smell similar, what's the point if you're spraying it 10 times more than you would the original? That for me is not worth it. You probably end up spending as much money when you're going through 6 or 7 bottles as opposed to 1 in a year. So from that point of view, I don't have a problem with a dupe. It means that possibly it makes things more accessible to people that can't afford to have all the nice designer perfumes that everybody talks about. There's nothing wrong with smelling nice for a couple of quid as opposed to smelling nice for 100 quid. If you had the idea like me that you wanted to use these oils and layer them with the actual fragrance, do it. I've done it with Gucci Bamboo. I love it. It's really, really well made fragrance by Perfume Parlour. I'm very happy with that. However, the perfumes were hit and miss. They are not all 5-star perfumes. In fact, I would say only 50% are as good as the originals, or very similar to the originals in terms of quality of smell. It's a good idea to get these tiny little bottles. They are the right kind of size just to test something out. I find it nigh on impossible to get samples. They just don't seem to exist anymore. Or possibly I no longer attend the shops that did samples. It's a good way to try a perfume as well. As long as it's close to the original, it's a good way to try a perfume that's very popular out there. Without having to go out and fork out money for it. So 3 milliliters of liquid in this cute little bottle. Obviously this is the wrong label. This is not the original label at all. They did not put this on the bottle. I did, just so that I could pick it out and go, oh, there's C. You know, it's much easier for me. Would I buy from them again? Yes. I think I'm going to buy Gucci Bamboo. I think I'm going to buy Miss Dior. I think I'm going to buy Dolce & Gabbana the one because they're really, really good. But it is hit and miss. I wouldn't go in and buy 50 mils of their Eau de Parfum without having tried these oils first. However, I have spent a fair amount of money on these oils now, and half of them I wouldn't keep, or maybe less than half. There are a few that I want to throw in the bin now that I've done this review because they're so disgusting smelling. But there are many that are gorgeous. So it's a 50-50 review. I've not been paid to make this. They've given me nothing for free, everything I've paid for. They were quite good about changing an order. one of them that I last minute wanted to take one out, put one in and add a few more, and that went all through fairly smoothly. But again, I paid for everything myself. This is just a frank review of the female fragrances that I've tried from Perfume Parlour. If this was useful or helpful at all, please like, comment and subscribe.